after you've styled something with some basic CSS, inline styles, and on-page styles, then we want to start expanding and working with more elaborate styles with the third type of style called external style sheets. And these are slightly more complicated. But these are things that allow you to make a whole separate code sheet that can change and modify and apply to every page on the website. And it's pretty easy to do. What we're going to do is we are going to create a new document inside Sublime Text. So I'm just going to do File New, or Control N or Command N in this case to make a new document. And this document, right out of the gate, what I'm going to do is do File, Save As, and I'm going to save this into the same folder, and I'm going to name it style.css. .css. Now this you don't have to necessarily like index. Your homepage always needs to be named index. This page, this external style sheet, can be named anything .css. As long as it's tagged with .css, we can utilize that as an external style sheet and use those styles and apply them to our site. I'm going to save that in the same folder as this index.html. Okay, style.css. Now, what this is a whole separate sheet, very similar to this on-page style sheet that I've created. And I'm actually going to siphon these styles out of my on-page sheet and put them in my external CSS sheet. It's a very simple h1 tag with a curly bracket, a color, and a background color. h2 tag just has a color, h3 tag also has a color. Okay, so these tags, very simple, they're just controlling the colors of my h tags. Now, this external sheet, although it is saved inside my structure on my website, it's not tied into my document. I have to link these two things together. And the best way to do this is with a chunk of code. Now, if you Google external CSS, the very first link that comes up is the code that I'll be using here. It's on this W3 Schools, which I recommended as a great place to bookmark code. This is a slightly more, like this is a little bit hard to remember, so I'm just going to copy and paste it off of this sheet, but let me break down what's going on here. This goes inside the head of your document. Like I said, a lot of things that relate to the externally linking into your document go inside this head portion, just like the on-page style sheet that we created earlier. There's a link reference, href, hyperlink reference, to a style sheet. In this case, it's named mystyle.css. I'm going to change the name of this. But this link rel style sheet tells it we're looking for a style sheet. This href is where the style sheet is located. So I'm going to copy this chunk. I'm going to go into my Sublime Text here. This code goes into the head of your document. This should be the last thing in the head of your document. Now, I am mixing an on-page style sheet with an external style sheet. I'm doing that for a reason. We'll see what happens here. Generally, I like to have my on-page style as the very last thing in my document and the link to my style sheet directly above that. But either way is okay. All right, here I've got my link. Link rel equals style sheet. href equals, now this is important. Mine is named style.css. This one that I copied and pasted has mystyle.css. The names have to match for this thing to locate it correctly. So I'm just going to change this to style.css, and I'm going to save my document. Now, in theory, this external style sheet with these code pieces, color violet, background color red for my h1 tag, should be applying to my homepage here. Now, I've already got these pasted into an internal style tag here. So just for a minute, I'm going to take all of these internal styles and get rid of them and save this. So there's nothing inside my internal style sheet, and just my external style sheet is applying. Let me save and refresh. And now it's still working. It's still catching those styles. So in theory, my style sheet is working, but let's just test it. I'm going to change these from violet, my H1s from violet, to something completely different. Let's change these all to like a green, so I can see if my styles are catching. There we go. Check it out. Okay, so let's break this down. I have now successfully applied this external style sheet. In this external style sheet, I'm just writing these styles. I just wrote a plain old H1, curly bracket, the attribute, and then the value of that attribute to change. And what it does, since I have added this link, rel style sheet, and a link to that style sheet, it is actually accessing that style sheet from my folder. And globally, any place, any page that I make in my website, not just the home page, but any page I put this link rel style sheet into, it will catch this global external style sheet and it will apply it to my pages. That means if I've got 15 or 20 different pages in my website that all have H1s in there, and I all of a sudden want to change these, let's say there's 1,000 usages of H1s across every website or every page I've got on my whole website, and I want to change these all to yellow. I do that with one line. And now every page on my website will have yellow H1 tags. So those are the three kinds of CSS. We've got inline CSS. Okay, now this is pretty important here. Let me just set these things up so you can see what's happening here. I'm going to put an H1 in every style sheet here with a different color. Okay. I have now got an H1 tag that has color black applied to it. Okay, save this and refresh. Notice that is still black. Okay, it's completely, this H1 tag here, all of my H1s have turned blue because I've added an H1 tag to my internal style sheet. That has overridden my external style sheet, right? So we can see the hierarchy here. Inline styles have a stronger hierarchy than on-page styles. On-page styles have a stronger hierarchy than external styles. These are overrides that you can creatively apply to your website. That's the point. You make your big changes here, and then you change per page stuff here, per line stuff here. Okay? So those are the three kinds of CSS. Internal, external, and per line. Each one has a different hierarchy value and can be used in conjunction. Those are really